We're making our way through the NFL through the course of this week, talking about the non-negotiables for every team, division by division.
Yes.
Last but certainly not least, the NFC West. Of course, this is all framed. The Bear, all those Emmy nominations for comedy, because it's such a funny show.
Yeah.
The non-negotiables on that, the setting up the kitchen, getting the Bear to get that Michelin star. Yep. This is how these NFL teams, their non-negotiables for what it's going to take for them to be playoff contenders in 2024.
Non-negotiable.
We'll start with the Seahawks here. I'm going to say utilize all those weapons. I think that John Schneider's been building an arsenal for years now, used high draft picks on guys at the skill positions. Just at the wide receiver position, the fact that you bring back Lockett, you've got DK, who certainly is going to anticipate a big role in this offense. Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was a first-round pick last year, who I think kind of blended a little bit, not by his own fault, just that Seahawks offense was a little bit rocky for them at times. You got Ryan Grubb coming in, who did a lot of cool stuff at the University of Washington. He is going to, they hope, innovate things a little bit here and do some things a little bit differently. If they can get Geno Smith going, because Geno's played pretty efficient football, and just get the ball out there. I'm not saying throw it 50 times a game, but make the most of all those weapons. I know it's been a point of frustration at various points for Seahawks fans, in part because, let's be honest, Pete Carroll is a defensive background coach who wants to play ball control, play good defense, don't turn it over, win games that way. It's now you're maybe into a little bit different type of a situation here. Mike McDonald's a defensive background coach too, but you don't go and get Ryan Grubb if you're expecting to win games 17-16. They're going to get the ball around the field. They've got the weapons to do so. Let's see how they utilize all those guys in 2024.
Okay.
For the Rams, I'm going to say the young defense has to grow up fast. You no longer have Aaron Donald. They used a lot of resources to try to, over the past couple of years, since they finally have draft picks again, to fill out things on the defensive side of the ball, to be able to try to make up for the loss of one of the greatest defensive players we've ever seen. That is easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a difficult deal. And, oh, yeah, your defensive coordinator is no longer there. So that's another significant change that Sean McVay is going to be dealing with here. As long as Matthew Stafford is healthy, which Matthew Stafford gets hurt like 8 times a year and plays through everything, and he's got broken bones and torn ligaments and everything. Somehow he always gets to the finish line. I know they drafted Blake Corum. That is going to help out with Kyron Williams in the backfield. They've certainly got weapons on offense. I'm not concerned with Sean McVay's offense. No. My question is, can they play sufficient defense without a guy in Aaron Donald who, realistically, it's almost like having 3 good players. It's almost like having, you know what I mean? Like, you can make the impact of several different players. Taking a guy who's that great away, it's not just, hope Braden Fiskey steps in and can make an impact here. No, it's a lot of guys have to step up and play better for you to be half as good as you've been in the past year.
Kobe Turner looked really good last year. So
Kobe Turner's a very good player.
And you're going to reunite Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. So like you said,
and let's see Kobe Turner now without Aaron Donald.
Yeah, but like you said, you're going to have multiple guys to replace one dude. And that's unfortunately what they're looking at. And
there's nobody getting triple team now in the middle of your defensive line. Yeah. So that has a trickle-down effect on how everybody else is getting blocked. The 49ers. This is the obvious one. Stay healthy. Because on paper, they remain the team to beat in the NFC. I know that the Lions had a strong season, took them to the wire. I know the Packers took them to the wire. I know that the Cowboys have won 12 games each of the last 3 seasons. Yeah, 49ers are defending NFC champs. They were that close to winning the Super Bowl again. And they've got Brock Purdy, who is a rising top 10 caliber quarterback. They've got all the weaponry around him. They got Christian McCaffrey on the cover of Madden. Their defense is stacked. The only thing that's really gotten the 49ers, really throughout the entire Shanahan, John Lynch era, has been when they've been hurt. And they've had a lot of injuries. A lot of times, it's an undersold thing in the NFL. The teams that have success a lot of times are the healthiest teams. They're the teams that, at the end of the season, they've got their dudes. And the 49ers, outside of having a linebacker jogging on the field and popping Achilles last year, they were pretty healthy throughout the course of the season. They had the guys that they needed toward the end of the year. It has not always been that way. They've had other seasons that have been a complete train wreck from an injury perspective, a health perspective. As long as they can stay healthy, they should be there at the end again. But that's been easier said than done through the years. And then for the Cardinals, this is ambitious. It's something that it's come up a bunch of times when, I've interviewed Trey McBride. I've talked to other people with the Cardinals, Paris Johnson as well. They don't think it's crazy to talk about Kyler Murray as a dark horse MVP candidate. They think that it's in Kyler Murray. Remember, last year, he's coming off of a serious injury and wasn't ready, obviously, at the start of the year. Comes in and plays, but lost a lot of time on task with Drew Petzing's offense. Now you've got a healthy offseason. Everybody has said positive things about how Kyler's preparing, which has always been something that people have harped on with him.
Yeah, that was a knock on him earlier.
And you gave him Marvin Harrison Jr.
Maserati Marv.
So Kyler is still, he's still in his prime athletically. He still can make people miss like anybody this side of Lamar. And it's a matter of harnessing that and trying to get the most out of it. I'm not saying he's got to win the MVP. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL.
It's got to be in the talks, though,
We've
right?
got to, if the Cardinals are going to be relevant, if they're going to be a playoff contender, we at least have to be talking about Kyler Murray.
Agreed.
In that conversation. Everybody praises Drew Petzing, too, guy that I don't think a lot of people knew. He was on the Vikings staff a long time. He was more recently the quarterbacks coach in Cleveland, now entering his second year in Arizona. So as a play caller, he's finally got more experience than he did going into last season. He's really smart. One of the players there, I think it was Kyler, called him a genius. We're going to see now, with a fully healthy, fully prepared Kyler Murray and the best receiver in the draft, what that Drew Petzing offense is really going to be all about. Mm-hmm. I think it's a fun division. I think there's a lot of intrigue there because of some of the new parts in places like Seattle. There's also some of the guys that we've seen, the Kyler Murrays of the world. It's a matter of what do you get out of them in 2024. And right out of the gate, they got a big test going to Buffalo. The pressure will be on the Bills in that game. There's no question. Yeah. Home opener, first game without Diggs. Jonathan Gannon will have him ready to go just like he did every week last year, even though he didn't have the talent. Monty Ossenfort's done a great job in terms of making the most of his assets, the trades he made back in the 2023 draft to acquire future picks and high picks and really build out that roster. It's a similar formula, minus trading a quarterback for 3 first-round picks that Houston had. Yeah, you're bad. You're drafting up high. Not only get good players, but also maximize what you're getting with those good players by getting additional picks. And Casero actually made the trade with Arizona to go up and make sure he got Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. last year. Monty Ossenfort's given them the resources to be aggressive on that front. And if that's the team that I think most people out on the outside looking in are probably going to say, going into the season on paper, they're 4th out of 4. But they have Kyler Murray, they have Marvin Harrison Jr. They're getting a lot of other pieces still in place. That part's a work in progress. Let's see how they come out of the gate in 2024.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.